Hey everybody, it's Jenny. How's everybody doing today? I know a few of you were brand new to the group and struggling to figure out where everything is, so if any of you can take a break and make sure on the post that people are finding us, that would be nice and very helpful. I hope all of you are excited. I am. I know there's been a lot of questions about the knockdown or pile drop stitching, so hopefully we'll answer some of those questions today. Please feel free to type your questions or comments. I see you, Pam Rogers. How are ya? We're going to take our time and hopefully teach some of our newest members a few little odds and ends that'll make life a little bit easier for you. So I am going to take just a second while we're waiting for everybody to jump on and find where we are. I'm going to take a second. For those of you that watch some of our live tutorials from the fall before Christmas, I have rearranged my sewing room, so I'm going to show you what I did. If you watch some of the old ones, you'll notice that I had to move the camera back and forth and across the room because all of my sewing machines had been along this wall. Like I had my embroidery machine, my serger, my sewing machine, and so this was over here. So you'll see everything's not plugged up. Hey Vicky, how are ya? So I'm working on getting it cleaned up. Since Christmas, you'll see my little fabric stash over there, thanks to an Omaha friend. She gave me a bunch of that. Yay, Susan, you found it! Terrific. And so I am working on getting it rearranged a little bit. So if you see some of the old videos, you'll see different placement of things, but now this is the current setup. And so we're going to start by showing some of our newest folks some of the process to get the design downloaded and onto your computer. So hey Pam, hey Christy, yay, you found it. So I'm glad y'all were able to find us. If any of you will take a second away and check the page and help others find where we are, that would be greatly appreciated, because it's kind of hard for me to go back and forth and stay here live while I'm teaching you something. So this is the design. First of all, we have to say a huge, big thank you to Janae with Itch to Stitch. So she and her team have provided a great discount for you to get this really cool knockdown or pile drop stitch. I'm trying to get to the 3D picture so it's prettier. So hopefully you can see that a little better with less glare. But it is, I'm using one slightly larger than the 770s can use. Hey Miriam, hey Kim. So I have this cool little Innovis NQ 1400E. So it's got a 6x10 hoop, and yes, she sews naked. She doesn't like the cover on her for some reason. So I'm using a 6x10 hoop. For y'all with the 770, you'll be limited to the 5x7, and so the square that we're using today for you, you'll need to use the 5-inch square because it'll be the max size you can get. And so I don't know where that came from. Anyway, so we're going to start at the beginning, and so some of you may find some of this part a little boring, so you may want to do a few things and come back. But Pam, you found us, but it's not playing. Try leaving the group and coming back. I don't know what happens, but we have terrible internet, and just sometimes coming back is helpful. Sometimes you have to even cut your phone off. And I'm sorry about that. Lori says, thanks for doing this. Hey, Teresa. Hey, Lori. I'm so glad y'all are here. So we're going to start with, once you download a program, when you get to the download screen, when you're on the website, like Itch to Stitch, and it says download your designs, it will take you to a screen that looks something like this. And so it'll ask you where to save. If you just click save it, it's going to hide it in this little folder called downloads. And many people have trouble ever finding, it's like socks that go in the washing machine. They go to Never Never Land and you never get them back. So don't always pick just save to downloads, because you might have trouble finding it again. So you always should name your folder and pick where you want it to go. So you'll see in my Windows, can you see that? I have a folder that's embroidery files, and it started in 2016 because that's when I got this computer. So I had to move things from my old computer to here. So I wanted to know that I was using everything I had up to that point. So this is all my current stuff. So when I click on this, you'll see that I have a variety of folders. And so I have some 8 Claws fonts from 2013. That was an additional CD that they sold, and I really hate that they're no longer in business, because that's where most of my fonts came from until recently. Then I have a folder I've called A1 Ready to Stitch. Why is it A1? Because that keeps this folder at the top of my page right here, right under the numbers. So when you alphabetize your folders or your files, they will stay in alphabetized order. And that's important, especially when it comes to the 770 screen, which shows up as blobs when you're trying to stitch. So alphabetize your stuff and think about the names of things when you save them. So you'll see here all my different folders. When I buy a lot of fonts from somewhere, they get their own special folder. And this set was started before I had any sense. And so this one, I actually have way more folders over here. So I have some designs from all sorts of things. And so there you see my Itch to Stitch folder. So we're going to open that up, and you're going to see a couple of things down here. Let me go to the bottom. So when you download a file, oops, it's beeping at me. You'll see that my computer's going to act up. Of course it is. It's live TV. So you'll see down here at the bottom those zippered looking folders. Basic Shapes Motif, Crazy Paisley, Itch to Stitch, Elegant Scroll, and Rectangle Motif. All of those right there. I told you it was going to act stupid. All of those are what we call zip folders. That's how downloaded files come, because it's easier. What is wrong with you? Might have to restart my dang computer. Let me get to where we were. Wrong folder, Jenny. Itch to Stitch is where we want to go. Okay, so zipped folders save space, and they transmit faster and simpler to your computer. So you cannot put a zipped design folder or to zip wait a minute, let me say this right. You cannot put a design from a zipped folder on your machine. Zipped folders are only for transmitting and downloading your design. So once it gets to here, you have to open this up and then see this right here. Yes, Mac is a little bit different. So some of your commands are slightly different. Some of the placements are different, but the process is basically the same. So Lynn, we're going to talk about knockdown in just a minute. So just hang on, girl. So then you'll see something that says extract all files. And so it's going to extract all of these folders that, see this? These are not zipped, but they're in a zipped folder. So we're going to click extract, and you're going to get this screen right here that asks, do you want these files to be extracted to this folder? And I don't usually change it because it's the name of the path that I want it in. It's in my embroidery file folder. It's under my sorted files, in my itch to stitch folder, and it is my basic shapes motif set. So all of the path name stays the same. I don't change that. You can, if you want it to be named something different, you can change it right here. And then you click extract. And mine's already been done, so it asks me if I want to do it again. So I'm going to say cancel. Okay, so then you go back to your itch to stitch folder, follow the path, embroidery files, sorted files, and itch to stitch. We're back in the itch to stitch folder. I don't know how they say that real fast. But if you scroll down here, you'll see my 2-color monogram that we're using today, because that's the one I picked. You might have a different one. And the basic shapes motif set is right here. And so these are now in unzipped folders. Does that make sense? Everybody with me so far? So now we've downloaded and we've moved our folders out of the zipped file and we've put them in another folder. So this is in the computer. I am not in my software. Remember when we did the hooded towels, we talked about how there's 2 ways to access the files. And one is this way. And notice when you open these up, you really can't see anything or do anything with them. Like, they're just there. They're files. So sometimes my software will pull up a sample of the iconizer so you can see the icon of the picture, but other times it won't. Like this one, it won't pull up. No preview available. So it's trying to get me to buy the iconizer. I don't worry about it because I use the name to help me know what I'm dealing with of the file. And so this is in the computer. Now we're going to close the computer by clicking on the red X, and we're going to go to Embed, and we're going to start a new screen. So yours will be different. And here's in Embed. I use Embed, so Sew What Pro and Embrilliance, all the other softwares are slightly different. Commands might be a different name, but the basic process is the same. So when you click on your hoop, you can determine your hoop size and choose it. So you will choose this one right here. That is your 5.12 by 7.09, either vertical or horizontal. I'm going to choose my large hoop, the 6 by 10, and I'm going to say OK, because that's the size I want to use. So then I'm going to go to my file, and I'm going to merge my designs. And so I'm going to tell it to look in my my embroidery sorted files. So we're going to go to itch to stitch, and I'm going to open up basic shapes, and I'm going to use the square. And since I've already made my 5.5, I'm going to make this one a 5-inch. So you can see how it works. So I'm going to pick right there the square motif. Oops, that's the 5.5. I went too far down. 5-inch PES. So that's the one I'm going to highlight, and you can see the preview is over there, and then I'm going to click OK. So now that pulls that design into my work area where I'm going to work. And so then we're going to go back to merge, and we're going to go back to the itch to stitch folder, and we're going to scroll down to find the font, Elegant Scroll. And I got the 2-color monogram, but for our design today, we're actually only going to use 1 color because of the simplicity, and I just like the look. But we're going to just make an S out of this one. And so you'll see that now it's square and it doesn't quite fit. So to turn it, we're going to go over here to my little command right here. This is in Embird. These are your different commands and tools you can use. This will snip out parts, so if you need to circle part of it to make it, you don't want part of it there, you can do that. This is our rotate command, and so that's actually rotating the wrong box. See how it landed on my knockdown stitch? I don't want it on the knockdown stitch. I want it on here. So we're going to make sure, yep, so we're on the right box. So I'm going to turn this. This is going to be fun because I'm using one hand to do this. So I'm going to click on the rotate icon and we're going to turn it till I think it looks pretty centered. How's that? Does that look pretty close, y'all? All right. And so then I'm going to unclick to leave it there. So you'll see that I chose to get the 2-color monogram, but since I want it all to stitch the same color, I'm going to do something to change that. So instead of using a second color like this light teal, I'm just going to change it all to the dark blue. So first of all, I want to know the exact color that this blue is so that it changes everything in my computer like I want it. So I'm going to click on the color over here, double click this color, and it'll open this box. And then I'm going to click Add to Custom Colors. Oh, Janae, you're right. I didn't show that, but you're right. So I'm going to add to custom colors this dark blue. Did you hear my thank you earlier, by the way? We appreciate the discount. So now I have this color in this box right here. So I'm going to say okay. Then I'm going to go back to the light teal box. I'm going to double click it and I'm going to pick the dark blue box. So I have the exact same color on both things. So see, now it's all the same color. And that's how it'll be on the towel. See how that all worked together? So now we just have one color for the font and we have 2 colors for the knockdown and the border. So now let's talk a little bit about what a knockdown is. So if you'll look at the stitches, I'm sorry I'm wobbling so bad. So look at all those little stitches in there. They're just crisscrosses in a cute little design. And so when we knock down a stitch, or we knock down the pile is what we're actually doing. We're using a stitch, a sewing machine stitch, to knock down the pile. What's pile? It's the thickness on a towel, or on fleece, or on the Sherpa shirts and jackets that everybody's got. All of that thick stuff that will often... Okay, my phone's acting crazy. I hope I didn't lose y'all. It says I'm back on live. So, but if y'all are missing it, maybe try to find me again. But the knockdown or pile drop stitch literally drops the stitch, drops the pile with the stitch so that your design will show up. And you're going to see that evolve as we do our stitch today. So does that make sense, Lynn? Did that answer your question? A knockdown stitch literally uses stitching to knock down the thickness of a pile so your design shows up better and doesn't get lost in all the thickness and fluff. Thanks, Kim. That makes me feel better. We have terrible internet here, and so if we go off, come back to the page and try to find me again. Because I'll just start all over I'll start again and keep right where we were. We'll just keep all the videos in parts. So good, I'm glad we're still here. Any other questions about how the knockdown or pile drop works? Any comments, Janae? So I want y'all to know that right off the bat, I've not stitched this before. I didn't even do a test stitch because we've been busy with other things going on. And so I did not even get a chance to test stitch this or test pin or stabilize. We are doing this all on the fly, y'all. So just like you stitch, that's what we're doing here. So if you have questions, please ask. All right, so Sally, once we get done with the video, you can go all the way back and watch from the beginning as many times as you need to grasp something. But we've gotten our design downloaded, unzipped, and merged into this file. And then we're going to go up here and click File. And I'm going to go to Save As. And I'm going to select Center in the Hoop. If you always center your designs in the hoop, you will always be able to start from center when you're hooping and stabilizing. And normally I would save this in my E drive, which is my USB port here, but I don't want to confuse myself because I already have the correct size done and saved there. So we're just going to put this in my computer file, A1 ready to stitch. Remember that one? I always save stuff here too. See right here, Y Elegant Scroll. Now this is how I name my files. I've seen many of y'all come along and ask how to find something because you didn't know what you used before. But this is how I name my files. So because I used Y in my original file, I saved it as the first letter. This is my personalized stuff. Yes, Kathy, it did freeze. So hopefully it'll stay put now. Then I put the name of the font I used, and sometimes I remember to put the designer. And then I put what else is with it, and 5.5 pile drop stitch. So we can see the rest of this. If I move this over a little bit. Square, my bad. So I know what shape it is by this word, and I know what size it is by this, and I know the name of my font here, and I know how it's personalized here. And I usually put the personalization first. You can look down here. You'll see Hayden. Hayden was the name I stitched in Whimsy Curls by Juju. This was a design I merged together and it had a whole bunch of different stuff, but it was personalized for Kyle with Subway art for pillow, so I know exactly what it is. This is a blanket I did that Sarah, my daughter, asked me to stitch for her. She bought the blanket and wanted it personalized. So it's got their last name on it, Young, in Magnolia font with a Mindy tree. And so I know exactly what it is. Like, and I know I can go and find those no matter what else I'm doing. For this one, I chose the letter S. So I'm going to name this S. Because it's personalized, and then we're going to put, see there's some, it's trying to help me name it from some other stuff I've done before. So we're just going to put Elegant Scroll Itch to Stitch with, and the only reason I'm saving it because I might actually use this for my daughter because her name is Sarah, with 5-inch. I try not to use a lot of letters and symbols in file names because if you're a coder, you'll know that some of those are actually used in coding, and so you might mess with your file names, might mess with things otherwise, so I don't mess with that. I just use words. With 5-inch square. Okay, and so then that's going to save it. I always say yes to that because it'll put it in the smallest hoop size possible. So now we're going to open up the real one that we're going to stitch with today, so you can see what's going on. So now, after I get it to this point, I use my, let's go back to our toolbar over here. See my virtual sew simulator right there? All of the softwares have some sort of virtual stitch out or sewing simulator, so you can watch it. So I'm going to show you all a few seconds of this. So you can watch, see it going across the top there? That's exactly how it's going to start stitching on the machine. So especially when you merge designs and you cut pieces or parts, when you layer stuff, if you put a birthday number under a design or on top of a design. You can do this to see how it's all going to come together. And if you're really brave, you can actually cut out sections from underneath other parts. Like if you put a birthday number 8 under a big bowling ball and bowling pins, you could cut out the part of the 8 that is hidden by the bowling ball and not have to do all that extra stitching. Does take a little practice, so just keep trying if you can't get it right the first time. But it's pretty cool to be able to watch. You can also adjust the speed of the simulator. So watch this. I love this. This is funny. You speed it up to 250. Watch that little booger go. Ain't that fast? I love it. Or if you're really working on something tedious, you can slow it down to 5 stitches at a time. I just love it. I can sit and watch the sew simulator or my sewing machine stitch like crazy. Like, it doesn't bother me. I can just sit and watch them because they're just, it's so cool. But that's a feature that many of y'all have no idea is there. And so I thought I would take a minute to show all of that. Any questions so far? Dom, I'm sorry I don't live closer to North Carolina, but maybe one day. All right. So now we have our design saved to the flash drive. I'm gonna eject that from the computer, and we're gonna put it in the machine and turn her on. I cleaned up and moved so much I can't even reach the on button. Okay. So we're going to let her come on and get started going. And we're going to come over here to my table. So these are my supplies. I posted a picture earlier of all my stuff. And I'm going to walk you through stabilizing. I have 6 towels that I'm stitching. And these are their colors. It's a bright teal, a melon, this mint. The hand towels are the same colors as the big ones, except I have these 2 additional ones. So, but all of these are going to get that same monogram on all of them. We're only going to do one here for you today. We're going to do the gray one. So this is my gray towel. And because I'm doing several, this is how I organized myself. Let me see if I can hide that sun with my head maybe. So I fixed me a list so I don't get confused. I want them to be able to be totally matching so that they can be used. The 2 gray ones can be used together. The 2 melon ones can go together. The 2 teal ones and so forth, so that they can be a match set. So I wanted to make sure I kept all my stitches and stuff the same colors. So I made me a little chart. So on my gray towel, I'm going to use a pile drop color of gray. So all of my pile drop stitching, the edges and the background will be in gray to match the towel. I want those stitches to sort of disappear into the towel and not draw tons of attention to them, because I want the attention to be focused on the actual letter, the monogram, which for the gray towel is going to be melon. So I made this little chart to help me keep straight what I'm doing, and so I don't get mixed up and confused. So turn this back around and get this situated so y'all can see. So I'm trying to use my light for my camera tripod. Okay, so I'm going to take all that off. But I have my water-soluble stabilizer. I have 1 layer of cutaway. Now, let me just say this. I use cutaway for almost everything, y'all. I know many of y'all use the poly mesh. I just never... Okay, it locked up again. So I'm sorry. But I have my cutaway. Poly mesh is fine, whatever way you want to stabilize it. I find for especially the heavy towels, big towels, that tear away is not sufficient. It literally will tear away the towel. The weight of the towel will stress the tearaway enough to tear it while it's stitching. So I rarely use tearaway anymore for my towels. I used to a lot until I started having tearing issues. I use this great big roll of stabilizer. It's 100 feet. I order it from Amazon, and just cut off what I need when I need it. So we're going to lay down our stabilizer on top of the bottom of the hoop, and then carefully, well, I forget. Before I put the top hoop on, I'm going to give it a quick little spray. And then I'm going to sit this top part and mash it straight down on a flat surface. If you try to mash this on a woppy surface, you're going to have a wompy bunch of stabilizer. Oh, on my chart, Vicki, the M is for monogram. So that's for the letter. I'm sorry. I was trying to figure out what your question meant. What's the M for? What M is she talking about? I forgot my chart. I'm sorry. Okay. So now we have nice, tight stabilizer here. So remember in the previous tutorials, we would line up. Let me see. I don't know if y'all can see it. So the computer's trying to tell me to rotate my phone. So remember we lined up. I'm trying to make sure y'all can see. I don't know. Let me do it this way, because then I can see what y'all are seeing. Okay, that's better. So I have marked. I know some of you have said that these little plastic divots on your hoops are not center, and they're not. So if you'll drop your needle in just a plain piece of stabilizer, you can find your center, and then you can mark the edges. So my center is that green Sharpie mark. I use medium cutaway. Sylvia, Debbie, just regular medium cutaway. And then I line up. These two are center on my hoop, but drop you a needle in the center of your plain stabilizer and find where your center is. And so remember, we've got to caddy corner the towel so it stitches diagonally. So that's going to give us a little bit of a challenge here today. So I take my ruler and I line up very carefully. I'm going to try to hold this while I hold the camera, and I'm just going to make a line so I can keep my lines pretty straight and I know what I'm doing. And then I do the same thing on the cross piece. Can you all see that? Okay, so then you wind up with, oops, I went off on the bottom part, but the top line is straight. It's the bottom one that's crooked because my pencil wiggled. All right, so you can see now that I have my centers marked. Can y'all tell that? And so now we're going to take the towel. I'm going to put the phone back up here and show you how we're going to find center on our towel. So first thing we're going to do is fold the towel inside out. So I'm going to fold it in half. I want the stitches to be on the front pretty side. And how do you determine that? It's by the seam on the back. You can feel the seam. On the front, it's smooth. On the back, there's a seam. So I fold the seam on the outside, and I take, so I can be sure I'm right, I take pins and pin my edges together so my center stays put and does not slide around. So, tilt the camera down a little bit so see the workspace. Okay, so you can see I have my pins on the edge and I have it nice and straight so that I have my center in this fold right here, okay? So remember, let me get this pulled up. So one of the things that I had trouble with when I first started embroidery was the same problem many of y'all have. Let me scratch down here where you can see me. With the PE 770 screen. It's small and it looks like blobby stuff that you can't really tell. So it's one reason I upgraded to the 1400E, which has now been discontinued, but the 1600 is out and it has a cute color screen. I'm going to show you that right quick, and I'm going to show you how I decide where I'm going to put this towel on the stabilizer. There's my machine. And so we're going to find my design. See why I like this screen? Because you can actually tell what the designs are. It's about the same size, but for some reason the colored icons just make it a little bit clearer to read. Did I pass it, y'all? Must have. Wasn't there. Maybe I wasn't paying attention. I was talking. I know I saved it. Oh, there it is. I went right past it. So I've got it pulled up. And so this is exactly the way the design is going to stitch. This bottom part of the square is going to stitch at the front of the machine. This part of the design is going to stitch at the back of the machine. This is the front and the back of the design on this machine. This side is going to be laid next to the hoop, the hook. Tiffany, it should be okay. It should go back and be able to, you should be able to watch it when we're done and go back and watch that part. I'm sorry. So this part is always going to stitch closest to this, and this side of your design is always going to stitch closest to this. So that will help you know where your design is going to print or stitch. I always pulled this up on my 770. When I first started embroidery, I stitched a blanket completely backwards. Sorry for the French. So I wound up, instead of having the design on the diagonal bottom corner, I had it on the side. And so I took a marker and I wrote right across this part of my machine that said, stop, check orientation. And so that helped me from making that mistake again. So this will help hopefully explain where things are going to be. So because this is how it's going to stitch, we want to lay the towel appropriately. So the top of the towel needs to come here, right? So we got to pay attention to how we lay the towel on the stabilizer. So for y'all, I'm going to do something that I don't normally do, but I'm going to try to help y'all see what's going on. So I have this cool quilting mat underneath my hoop. So we know we have about a 5.5 inch design. So I'm going to use the ruler that's under here and mark. I got to turn it sideways. I'm going to mark sort of where we're going to stitch. So I'm going to line up my centers and centers. That's why I said if you always know where your center is, you can always get everything stabilized right. Okay. Just gonna draw right over the lines on the quilting mat. These don't have to be perfectly straight. They're just a guide to help make sure we put the towel in the correct orientation. And so then I'm gonna hold this up where I can look at the screen, and I'm gonna draw my Y so you can tell exactly where she's gonna go. And I'm not very good at copying stuff, but here we go. So that's sort of the basic gist. Can you see that? Put something white back here, maybe that'll help show it up a little better. So see, I drew my Y. So now I know where the top of my towel needs to go and the bottom of my towel needs to go. Does that make sense? This is the top part. Are y'all following so far? Okay. So that done, we have our halved towel. And so since we need the top of the towel, which is this direction, this is the bottom of the towel, we want the Y to be near the bottom of the Y to be near the bottom of the towel. We're going to match up our center marks and then press into our spray adhesive, which is just a really light coat. You just want it to hold the towel till you can get it pinned. And then we're going to open it up. And that's where we're going to get our salty. I can't read y'all right at the moment. I'll come back and check questions in just a second. I've got the phone turned almost upside down so y'all can see my work area. So then I'm just going to take pins. And remember the trick I showed y'all before when we did the other items. I take and just barely slide the hoop off the edge of the table, and that's how I put my pins in. I stick my fingers like crazy. There is no magic to getting the pins in. It just takes practice, practice, practice. But when you only have a little bit of the hoop stabilizer hanging over the edge, there's not any pressure to push down and move your stabilizer and cause it to come unhooped. So then I'm going to turn it around a little bit so I can pin up here. Recently I've tried to help a few of y'all doing different projects, and I noticed that some of you are using like 4 to 6 pins. You'll put 1 or 2 in the corners and a couple here and there, but as you're about to see, my projects typically have pins that touch each other all the way around or are real close. The more pins you use, the better stabilization you're going to get. The good thing is with a towel, you're not going to have terrible movement most of the time because it's nice and thick. It'll sustain having a lot of stitches put in it without too much movement. I know I've seen several people comment that they are not using the water soluble on their towels and Sherpas with the knockdown stitches. but Janae said that they always use them to get the best look. And it washes right out. Just put it in the laundry one time and all of the water soluble will come right out. If you're selling a towel and don't want to launder it because you don't want it to look used, then just spritz it down really well and let it air dry. Yes, it'll be stiff, but you can send a little note to your customer and tell them that it's just the stabilizer, and when it's laundered the first time that it will go away and be soft. Some people will even put some of those care instructions on a little note in their packages, so you can do that too. But think about commercial products that you buy. There's stabilizer on them, and so you shouldn't feel bad at using proper supplies to make a quality product. As soon as I get this pinned, I'm going to stop and check on questions and comments. So if you have some questions up till now, go ahead and type them right quick. Remember, I have the 6x10 hoops, and that's why it looks so big. Y'all, most of y'all have the 5x7 on the 770 or similar machines. So mine will look a lot larger than yours will, so don't panic. But see, all of my parts of my pins overlap the whole way around. See how many pins I've got there? Did I skip a spot? Nope, it's there. Okay, I couldn't see one on the camera. So it takes a lot of practice to learn to pin this way. And when I flip it over, you'll see I didn't do anything but pick it up and show y'all. It's still tight. No give. I did miss one. Oh, it's just a spot in between two. So we'll put that right there. Yep, because you don't want it pulling. But anyway, that is how I stabilize my towels. All right, so I'm going to stop for a second and see about questions. Susan, I was working with an S for part of the demonstration because I'd already done the Y that I was going to use and saved it, so it would save us a few minutes. Yes, everything is backwards cut on some of the screens. When I'm talking to you like this, yes, see, it's backwards. When I turn the screen around the other direction, everything's normal. So it's just wacky iPhone. Miriam, what's so clever? Drawing the Y? Yeah. I get my Solvay at Joann's. I usually get it with a coupon. I get their text and their email coupons. And I buy Solvay and basting spray. This is not my favorite. I use the yellow can usually. It's my favorite. But for both of these, they're really pricey. And so I save and wait for a 50% or 60% off coupon, and that's when I buy these. Is there a wrong or right to the Solvay? Yes. When you feel it, one side is rough. And this is pretty thin. Like, you can see through it. Not good, but I can see the light of the camera through it. But there are different kinds. This is super Solvay. Ultra Solvay is really thick and smooth on both sides. It's really thick and good for scarves and stuff. But I use this for scarves, so it kind of depends. I use the rough side down, so it allows for the rough side of the pile to work together to provide enough loft for the stitching. Make sense? Debbie, you're right. It's very expensive. Sometimes 20 or 30 bucks for one of these. That's why I use the coupon. I save that coupon for that purpose. Yep, Pat, me too. Connie, You make putting pins in so easy. Yep, I do, and I apologize for that, but I promise you it probably took me 6 months to get that down. That was probably the hardest thing I had to learn and the best skill you can develop. What I would suggest is taking a variety of fabrics, just scrap pieces of things, and practice just pinning them. Just pin, pin, pin. I put one hand under. I'm gonna show you how I hold it so you can practice. But I hold one hand here, and literally my middle finger is usually catching the pin as it goes through. So I try to feel for the pressure and move it just in time before I get stuck. So hopefully that'll help. Pam says, I'm working on a 770. I saved my design with my initial on it, and when I loaded in machine, the initial is not showing. Should it be? Yes, it should be. So make sure, go back and watch the beginning part of the video when we're done, Pam. Make sure you're saving it in the right place. Sometimes in the software, it will default to somewhere different than where you want it. So that's why I said I was not going to save that S on my E drive on the USB port, because I didn't want to be confused about which design was which, because on the screen you can't always tell exactly what you're dealing with. So I didn't want to get messed up this afternoon. So go back in your computer, put your USB back in the computer, and see where it's showing up there, and look and make sure you're in the USB drive and not on your computer somewhere. Okay? All right, so now we have everything hooped, and we're gonna move over here to the machine. Let me set the camera up for y'all. Oops, I gotta undo my stuff here. Got it all tangled up. Okay, so now, sorry about that, y'all. Let's see. We want this to go this way. So, let's put you right here. And then we'll wrap you back up good and tight. And then we can start stitching. We finally get to the good part, y'all. Janae, you're probably right, because every time I do one of these, I'm whacked out. We're fixing to look and see. Okay, let's see how it turns out. Let's look. Put it on the machine. We may have to turn it around a little bit. So I'm going to check. I'll make sure I have enough bobbin, and there's plenty of bobbin. And I think Janae's right. Oops, I'm trying to put it on backwards. All right. Slide all of that towel right there. Okay. All right, so now let's see. Yep, Janae, you're exactly right. I did not angle it at the proper spot. Good catch, girl. Okay, let me show y'all what I just did, so you don't have to do this too. I laid my half, yep. I probably can, but I can't. On the 770, it won't be enough. I probably can rotate it. But let me show y'all what I did, and then I'll try to rotate it. So remember when I laid it in half? I laid it straight. I should have laid it angled. I drew it right, but I didn't lay it right. after all of that. Y'all with me? So I goofed even, but I told y'all, we all make mistakes, and it's just as live as anything can be. So I'm going to try and see if mine will rotate. Let's see if it'll turn. We can go to the screen right here and rotate 90 degrees. I only want to go 45. So let me see. 3, 4. No, that's not working either. Maybe I better just leave it alone and rehoop it, because y'all are going to have to rehoop it. It's on the 770. Suzanne, I'm fixing to show you because I goofed, and I'm going to rehoop my towel. So let me put the phone back up here. If y'all have a better idea for a holder than this wacky thing I'm using. So, okay, see my towel? I'm going to show you real careful. It's straight. The edge of my towel is right here, and it's in the same exact orientation as my hoop, Tiffany. And so to get the angle that I want, it's supposed to stitch like this in a diamond with the top of the Y here and the bottom down here. Okay? And so I'm going to pop this off right quick, and we're going to rehoop it properly. I just was busy talking and not paying as much attention as I should have. So I probably won't pin it as well this next time, but like I said, towels and this simple stitch that we're doing is not going to use up tons of density. So we're going to match up our center again, and we're going to match up. Let's see, we want the Y to stitch. It's going to stitch right here. It's going to stitch on this line right here. Let's make sure we got it right. Oops, but that's not the center. We want to find the center with our lines again. So this is going to be the center where I line it up. Can y'all see me? Are y'all with me? I need to move the screen over here a little bit. So I've got the Y, the square laid out, and this is going to be my center because it's laying here. I drew the Y a little bit wacky because I was free arming it. This is where some of y'all that print designs, this printed would be very helpful, because then you could lay it down here and see where it's going to go. Okay. All right. So now see how my design, let me take this phone off here. See how the towel now is at the right angle compared to the hoop. Does that make sense, y'all? Yes, if I were using a square, Tiffany, or a circle or some other shape that I wasn't trying to get this diamond with, you're exactly right. The straight would be fine. So it really depends on what you're doing. Suzanne, did you figure it out? Were you able to follow along and keep it up? Oh, good, Janae. That's nice. I'll find the link when we're done, or if you want to add it to the comments here, that'd be great. Thanks. Okay, so now we have the towel laid at the angle because I need my diamond to stitch this way. See? Does that make sense now? Even more intimidated. Draw it off. Like, literally draw it off. But see, now we have the bottom of the towel. It's not as complicated as I make it sound. I'm trying to make it easy. But see, now we have the bottom of the towel at the corner of the hoop. So I will wind up with the diagonal diamond shape with my Y in the middle. And I agree, Tiffany, start with straight designs. I should have thought about that when I picked this shape. I'm sorry. Maybe we should have done a round circle or something. Okay, so here we go, back to the machine. Okay. Big old light out of the way. Okay. I'm going to pin it a little bit and stick it on the machine. Any other questions that y'all have? So this is probably not nearly as stabilized as I normally stabilize, so just don't do as I do, do as I say, y'all. Okay? Okay, we got a few pins in it. We'll stick it on the machine, and it's gonna go this way. We're going to lay it here, and we're going to compare the orientation carefully and make sure we really do have it laid out right. Let me put a couple more pins in this so it doesn't flop too bad. So y'all with me so far? All right. So the bottom of my towel is down here in this corner, and this is where the bottom is going to stitch. The top of my towel is back here, and that's exactly where I want it to be. So just twisting the towel into the right place is all that was needed. And we're going to hit edit end, embroidery. And so we've got 3 colors listed in our touch screen. So what's going to stitch first? You can tell with this particular model, you can see what's going to stitch in your color screen. If you can't see, you use your sew simulator in your software that we looked at a while ago, so you'd know what frame is going to stitch first. It's going to be the background, and so we're going to use, what color did we say we're going to use on the gray towel? According to our chart, we're going to use gray background. So I'm going to thread. Now I'm going to go through this a little bit slow because I can do this really fast, but several of y'all are having trouble threading your machines. So we're going to go through 1 and 2. We're going to follow all the way around 3 and 4. Okay? And then you're going to reach back here and drop your presser foot. I have a button, so you drop the presser foot at this point so that your tension discs grab a hold of your thread and hold it. And you can feel it. If you'll give it a little tug, you can feel there's now pressure on your thread. And so I'm going to run it through number 6, through the threader, which I said before she likes to sew naked, so I'm just going to mash the button, pull the thread through, and I am going to trim that off just a little. I don't like leaving long threads that I have to worry about, so we're going to trim it off a little bit closer. All right, y'all, I haven't run her since Christmas presents we're making, so I hope she does all right. Let's hit the green button and watch her go. Whoops, I am really close to a pin. Take that out and move that just a little bit. All right, I missed the saw be just a little bit too. Let me move that over. See how crooked. Okay. So now that's on there. We're going to pin it right there. Okay. So since she's not pinned down very well, I am going to hold on to the salvia a little bit and make sure everything stays nice and straight while she's stitching. So the really cool thing about this machine is it also shows how many minutes each section takes. This is about 17 minutes. So, we'll give y'all a close-up of what she's doing. Ooh, y'all been talking up a storm. Let me get caught up. My stabilizer is 10 inches wide and about 22 inches long because I have a bigger tube. I think I better go back to hand embroidery. Y'all know this is absolutely hilariously fun. Look at this. Isn't that beautiful? And I honestly didn't realize I was going to make such a big boo-boo and scare everybody off. I didn't mean to do that. It's really not hard. And you saw how we caught it. As soon as I put it on the machine, Janae was saying the same thing as I saw it too. So, we all make mistakes. We just have to figure it out and fix it and try again. So don't panic. Most of the stuff I made originally wasn't very usable either. Luckily, I made it on little kids' t-shirts and they didn't care. I sent them to my grandkids anyway, and they loved it. So don't worry, just keep practicing. Marion says, I'm so glad you did what you did, because it was a great teaching moment that we need to double check things before stitching. Exactly, that's why I had written on my machine in the past, check orientation, because I have stitched things crooked and upside down before. Greta, please, I mean, hand embroidery is beautiful, but, oh, this is just so much fun. I literally can just sit here and watch her stitch for hours at a time. Vicky, my friend and I are doing towels next week. Yes, good. I want to see them when you get them done. My machine, Connie, is a Innovis. It's a company that is a brother to brother. It's an NQ1400E, which is now discontinued, but the 1600 does the same thing. Lynn, you're exactly right. I'm doing something a little fancier, and I should have thought more about the new folks. I'm sorry. You can do it in a square or a circle or some, you don't even, you don't even have to do a knockdown stitch the first time. I didn't. This is the very first time I've ever used a knockdown. And I've been doing this for like 8 years now, I think. Maybe 9. I lose track. My grandbabies were much younger. My oldest is now 10, and they still ask for me to make them things. So, just keep trying and practicing. Yes, post in the group when you get them all done. Pam, what software are you using? Let's see if we can help Pam troubleshoot while we wait on Penny Lou to stitch. A circle might be easier to start with. Yes, ma'am. because then you wouldn't have to do it on an angle. Okay, so who are our Sew What Pro experts out there? I am not a Sew What Pro expert. I use Embird. So if somebody is Sew What Pro and can talk Pam through saving her design on her USB, that would be rockin' awesome. One thing you might want to check, Pam, is what hoop size have you picked? Because if the design is larger than your hoop, it won't show up. So double check in your software to make sure your hoop size and design size are right. Oh, Lynn, that's a good question. Yep, did you merge the initial with the design on Sew What Pro? Did you merge it or did you just save it? Mitzi, my machine likes to sew naked. I keep trying to put it back on there and she'll nest or not or something. It doesn't, I don't know. She prefers to sew naked. Y'all are awesome at helping Pam trying to figure it out. We do have a Sew What Pro tutorial in the tutorial post. So if somebody can tag her there, that might be helpful. Which initial did you pick, Pam? Which size? How big is your initial? If it's more than 5 inches, it's going to be too big for your design to pick up. Look how pretty that is, y'all. That is so gorgeous. I love this knockout stitch. Some of them I've not been real happy looking at some of the work I've seen. I'm like, oh, that just looks so funky. This is absolutely stunning. Suzanne, this design is from Itch to Stitch. There's a post with a link to a coupon code that Janae and the team have given us as a special deal for this group and tutorial. So if you'll look through the post, it shouldn't be too far down the page. And then once we get done with this, I'll put the link to that post in this thread, so it'll all be in one place. But there's a discount code to get it. It's almost half off. It's a really good deal. Might be more than half off. I didn't do the math. But that design is just, I'm so excited. Pam, did you figure out which initial you picked? Did you pick an initial bigger than 5 inches? Thanks, Vicki. I thought it was around that. Shelly, the cover's off because my machine likes to sew naked. I'm sorry. She often won't sew with this one on, but I put it back on to really keep her freaking y'all out. So far, she's doing all right. I tried to put the cover back on the last few days when I was stitching at Christmas, and every time I put it back on, she'd nest or something, and I had to clean her out. So I just, your square is 5.06, about 5.05, and my initial is 3.9. Okay, so those are all right. Is the 5.06 lined up on the 7-inch side, it might be too close to the limit on the 5-inch side. Because it's like 5.07 or something. I think Jacqueline's onto something. It might not be too big, but it might be the orientation of your square. Because the 5x7 is like 5.07. Yep, it won't show if it's too close to the limit. Vicki, I do not pre-wash my towels. I never have. I just don't. When I used to do, until I was told by my grown children not to make anymore, I was making hooded towels like crazy for all the grandbabies and using all sorts of wacky colors. I never even pre-washed them. I did though buy color catchers and always sent a couple of color catchers when I would send towels to the grandbabies to make sure that the white didn't bleed on the red or vice versa, or the red didn't bleed on the white and that kind of thing. Yep. I don't pre-wash any of my fabric, even when I'm making dresses or anything else. I don't pre-wash. I will starch, and I use magic sizing to starch with because it just seems to make a much better looking product than regular starch. Look at that, y'all. That's so pretty. Dawn, a color catcher is a laundry product that you can find in the aisle with the laundry detergents and fabric softeners. It's a little box of these little, it's almost like fabric softener sheets, and they literally catch lead colors from mixed colors. They're great for bright, especially red or orange, dark navy blue kinds of products that are going to wash and bleed a lot. 100% cotton towels. Let's see what this one is. This is from Target. I don't know. Yes, this is 100% cotton, but I have used the Walmart cheap towels. I've used the good towels. This is sort of a middle of the line towel because I want it to be used, but I also wanted it to be pretty. So, Miriam, I totally agree. Post it in a separate post. I don't know if you can put it here on the live feed. I don't know how that works. That is just gorgeous. I'm so excited about this stitch. Yeah, I don't think you can put pictures up on a live feed. I think you'll have to do it either on another post or put the picture up after we're off the live feed. So Mitzi, some of the time our internet here is terrible. So give it a second, it might pop back on. Ooh, I got it all the way at the edge. Ooh, that was fucking close. Any other questions y'all have while she's still going? So are y'all stitching away or are you just watching? So Deborah, brother 10 needle. Wow. I haven't tried a towel yet. Would your way work? Okay, yep. Yep, you should be able to do anything on a 10 needle that we can do here. Yep, that's a good point, Janae. So, Janae's talking about this bulk part right here. You want to make sure that none of this is either caught under the machine or gets caught up here in the top anywhere. It's nice and tucked away. Usually I roll it better than this, but I roll it up so it stays put nice and tight. Good tip, Janae. So the coupon code is good till sometime Sunday night, I think. So make sure if you want this that you go ahead and get it. You don't have to download it immediately. You just have to purchase it immediately. And once it's purchased, you can download it anywhere, anytime. Just holding that floppy piece of solvy out of the way. It looks so pretty. Oh my gosh, I can't wait to see it all done. Oh, the flu. I'm so sorry. Okay. So now we're going to stitch the border and we're using the same thread. So we're just going to hit the green button and keep her going. Usually I roll it up like that. That way I know there's not any loose ends trying to slip up under the boot. So a lot of times I will tell you that when you're doing a blanket, or if all of this extra piece of towel was hanging off over here, you want to be really careful about the weight over here hanging off the end of the arm, because this weight will pull on your embroidery arm and causing shifting of your design and stitching. So just want to be really careful about where the weight is. I like it where it's supported. My box for my machine is over there in that corner. And sometimes at Christmas I was stitching a bunch of blankets for the kiddos. So I would bring that box right over here and sit it here and catch the weight of those blankets here. So they did not have any weight pulling on the design. That's awesome. I keep saying I'm going to build a riser, but I just haven't done it yet. Built a tiny house, but haven't built the riser. Any other questions? Any other things y'all want to know about? Chat a little bit while she's stitching away. design work on a t-shirt. Yeah, it'll work on anything. The purpose of this, though, is to knock down the stitching of the pile. What it's doing right now is just pressing down all of this thickness. But yes, you can put it on anything. A t-shirt or a dish towel or a tea towel. A riser lin is a wood or metal little box that goes right up under here. It would sit on the desk and then the machine would sit on it, and it's open on this end, so you can have like t-shirt parts under here. It gives single needle machine users a similar capability as the multi-needles, where the bottom of the project isn't caught in your stitching. Oh, I bet. I didn't think about the regular sewing machine. That's pretty cool. Christy, no. This is the only layer of Solvay that I use. I will usually use one. When I'm doing applique, if you'll watch the hooded towel ones, I usually take the center pieces out so that it's not caught under my vinyl and fabrics, but I usually don't add another layer. One layer on top is generally sufficient. The reason you use water soluble on top is to help hold the pile down anyway, and between the layer that's there and the pile drop stitching, you've got a nice, good surface, and don't need an additional layer. My Solvay's getting kind of crooked over there, so I'm going to hold it out of the way a little bit. Christy, I'm glad you could be here. I hate you might have to leave, but the video will stay in the group, and y'all are welcome to go back and watch it as many times as you want. Holler if you have other questions later. I am just chomping at the bit to see melon thread go on top of there. Cinda says, I missed the very beginning when you started. Did you put this in food? You mean hoop? I float everything. See, you can tell. You can't see the hoop anywhere because it's all up under there. I float everything. And the video, Cynthia, you can go back and watch when we're done. You can go back and watch from the beginning so you can catch up on any of the parts you missed. The knockdown stitch and the font I'm using today are both from Itch to Stitch, and they gave us a great coupon. So make sure you find the link to that. Once we're done with the live video, I will add the link here to the comments to put it all in one place. But they provided a coupon for the pile drop stitches, and there's 2 sets of them, and they're awesome, as you can see. Absolutely beautiful. Yeah, I thought you meant food, not food. So we're over halfway there with the edging. It looks so good. I don't know about a JEF file. I delete all the ones I don't need. So I don't remember if there was a JEF in there. There was a bunch of different file types. If Janae's still here, she might answer your question too. Or tag her and see if she will respond. She might not still be here. I invited her to come on live with us, but she turned me down. I was going to get her to talk too. There she is. She says yes. What kind of machine uses a JDF, y'all? I don't have a clue. Is that a Janome file? so smart. No, I just guessed good. My best friend used to have a Janome. I guess she still does. I haven't been in her sewing room in a few years since we moved to Alaska and been to Omaha. But it made some beautiful stitch outs. Oh, y'all, just touching it. I just want to pet it over and over. It's so pretty. It's going to be so fancy. Greta, how often do you come on live? I might learn how to use my machine if I watch enough. Had your 780 for 6 years and you're still afraid of it? Oh no! That is not good, dear. Don't be afraid of it. Well, once or twice a month, we got kind of sidetracked with the holidays, but I did several. There's a hooded towel one, there's a stabilizer one, there's an in the hoop stocking that we did, there's a hooded towel, and this. I can't remember if there's another one. I think that's the only ones we've done. But yes, just keep watching them over and over and over again, and you'll get better. Debbie, hubby is doing much better. Thank you so much. All right, I gotta put the phone up here so I can thread the machine. It takes both hands. Okay, so I guess y'all can sort of see. Okay, so let me, my cutter is disabled right now because it was acting up before Christmas and I have not taken time to fix that. And I know some of y'all just had a heart attack because I pulled out from the top, but I pulled out from the top while my tension discs were released. There's no pressure on the tension. If there was still tension on the discs, yes, you absolutely need to pull from the needle. So if you develop good habits, one way or the other, you'll be fine. Okay. I'm going to trim a little bit so we don't have all that extra running around everywhere. And then we're going to press start. And this is the part I've been dying to see. Trim that out of the way. Paula, 2 years and you've never done anything but look at it? No, honey, it's time to get that puppy going. It does help if you have a friend or somebody to help you, because honestly, my daughter-in-law is who got me to embroidery. I've sewn for 40 plus years, since I was 9 years old. I started learning on my mama's sewing machine, and I had 4 babies at the time, and Jade started to embroider while she was in Kodiak as a hobby, to have something to do, and had some friends that were sewing and crafting, and so this was what she picked for a craft. And then she came to Mississippi for a visit, brought her machine with her, and we had the best time learning to sew and play together. And after she left, I was kind of sad because all the cool stuff we were making, we couldn't make anymore. The machine was gone. So yes, it is way more fun when you have somebody to learn with. But that's sort of why I like doing the Facebook Lives, because it's like being there with y'all. And the videos stay in the group. You can go back and watch them over and over and over and keep practicing and learning. Fatal error? That's bad. Did she die? Like, turn her back on and see what's going on. We'll fix her up. No, this is absolutely beautiful. I cannot wait to give this to my kids. So I guess I need to go find the poll that I posted a few weeks ago and find out what else y'all wanted to learn, and we can schedule another Facebook Live. But what do y'all want to learn next? We've done a hooded towel, and we've done it in the hoop stocking, and now we've done a monogram towel. What else do y'all want to learn to do? Arlene, we started this video at 4, but we've been talking and I made a big boo-boo, so that wasted a little bit of time. Yep, Connie, that's how I learned. I mean, other than hanging out with Jade and learning on her machine, which was a Futura, and then I bought a brother, so I had to learn everything all over again. But, like, I learned a few things about hooping and stabilizing before I got the brother, but scared of t-shirts and onesies. So I cheat. I used to do t-shirts all the time, but now I cheat. I use a peekaboo pattern, Grand Slam raglan, to make t-shirts so that I don't have to do anything but flat piece of fabric before I sew the shirt together. So I totally cheat. If y'all want to make a shirt, I'll show you how I do it, and we'll do one. But I totally gave up the shirt thing. I make my own shirts now. Onesies are the pits. I prefer Old Navy. They're my favorite. They're the thickest, and they hold up the stitching way better than any of the other brands. Oh, and in the hoop purse with zippers and dividers. Yikes, Lynn. You want to make things hard, right? So, Sally, I will post a picture of how I used to hoop t-shirts before I started making my own. But I used to use pins and packing tape to make sure the entire shirt was secured to the hoop. Plethora of purse, monogram, shirts, pouches. Wow. Okay, well, I'll find something to do next. We'll probably do another one in a couple weeks. For those of you who don't know, I have a health coaching business, and first and third Thursdays I do a Facebook Live with keto nurses. And so that week I usually am tied up with that. And so off weeks I try to do something with the embroidery stuff. So, Tiffany, I usually cut to about a quarter of an inch, 3/8 of an inch. So there's usually just a little bit of cutaway left. And after the towel or t-shirt has been washed a couple of times, it's fine. If you buy a towel, there's going to be stabilizer on it. Watkins Glen, New York. I want to come to the race up there sometime, Tony. Can you hook me up? We're NASCAR fans. Tony, it should not be nerve-wracking to thread your machine. Go back and practice threading over and over and over. When my grandkids asked if they could learn to use the machine, I said, yep. I said, first thread it. So I made them thread about 10 or 12 times before they could press the green button. So just practice everything that you have struggles doing, and you'll get better and better at it. Threading the machine and pinning are two of the most important skills to develop. Lisa, got back to your hotel room after a teacher's conference. Glad I didn't miss it. Well, we're almost done, but it will be available to get in the video to get back and watch the whole thing once we're done, completely done. So how was the conference? Did you learn anything new? That's the important question, right? Y'all, this is so pretty. Oh my God. Oh, it's just beautiful. Janae, if you're still there, I'm sending you the hugest, biggest virtual bear hug ever, ever, ever. This is gorgeous. Oh, Deborah, we went to Fort Worth the first part of November. We went to the NASCAR race, and it was totally rockin' awesome. We wanted Ricky Stenhouse to win, but he didn't. But it was a good race. We had a blast. Dawn, you're very welcome. I hope it's helpful. And if y'all need to go back and watch it 5 times or one more time or 16,000 times, just go back and watch it. Wilmington, North Carolina. No, but my kids used to be there. Okay, I'm going to show y'all something else right quick. So, see how it did that jump stitch? I go in here and cut that. Well, I can't get my big old fat scissors under there. But I cut that so it won't grab. There we go. On my needle. On my pressure clips. Because I have had my 770s do it really bad. It would snag on some of the jump threads. And pull and shift and cause trouble. So I try to I don't really trim close. I just try to snip the thread so it's loose and it can do whatever it wants to do until I'm done, and then I'll trim it really close. Remember, you can trim the front really close, but you don't want to trim the back really close. I usually do cut my back jump threads, but I leave about a ½ inch of thread hanging, because if you cut close, the knot that's there, that's stitched, will come undone and your stitching will unravel. So let's see, y'all talking about mascara. Oh my God, LaDonna, I'm so jealous. I've never been to Daytona. One of these days I'm going. But maybe this year, hubby's been really sick. So Lynn says, encouraging you to try a towel. I want to see your towel. And after the video, I'm not going to take the time here, since we've already gone almost 2 whole hours, to finish it live. I'm going to clean it up and get all the salvie off, and I'll take a really good picture and post it once we're done. Yeah, mascara is pretty funny. Yeah, we've been to Bristol, we've been to Fort Worth, we've been to Vegas, we've been to Darlington. We love NASCAR. Bristol's our favorite place. One of these days when we retire or get tired of whatever, we're probably going to end up somewhere close to Bristol, Tennessee. So we'll be near NASCAR a couple times a year. Mitzi, that's a good tip. I do also use spray check sometimes, especially if I have a nest or a knot or a place where I had to rethread for whatever reason. I often go back to the back and put a dot of the spray check there. Yes, Christy, I will post a picture of the back and the front once it's cleaned up and all finished and done. I am going to show y'all how I trim my cutaway off the back when this gets done. Yeah, Fort Worth was a big track and hard to see all the way around, but man, there were a couple of good wrecks. It was cool. So I hope, Miriam, I really appreciate that. I am glad you're learning something. See, there's another jump stitch, so we're going to go up under here and flip that so that it doesn't snag on anything. I'd much rather have a loose floppy thread than a snag. So there are more than one way to skin a cat, everywhere, every time, no matter what you're doing. So my way isn't necessarily the right way. It's the way I have found to make things work. Many embroiderers will use tearaway and it works just fine. With this stable design, tearaway would probably be really good. And do just a really fine job and be adequate in everything. But I just prefer cutaway because I've had issues. LaDonna, right now we have several favorite drivers. Smoke was my favorite and Junior was my hubby's favorite, so now we don't really have one. I like Clint Moyer and he's driving for Smoke, so I like him. My son likes Kevin Harvick, but I can't stand the other team member. And I don't know why Danica's not going to be there anymore. I mean, I like her. But, yeah, Daytona is huge. But I just want to go one time to say I've been to Daytona, because it's like the race. Well, other than Bristol. But I would go to every event at the Bristol track if I lived within an hour's drive of that place. Like, oh my gosh. And says, your reading pillow video was awesome. Thank you very much. And one for a Christmas gift, confidence, and a great outcome. Oh, that's so sweet. Yeah, we like Jimmy all right. We're just kind of tired of the Jimmy Johnson show. Like, he's won so many and so much, and he's like the golden boy of NASCAR. So it's not that we don't like him. It's just we're kind of like, can't somebody else do something good? Kind of thing. So it's okay. Right now we're just kind of trying to settle on somebody. We are from Mississippi, and we do like Rick Stenhouse. And since we don't really have anybody else serious that we're rooting for right now, he's sort of our go-to guy. We are really proud of Martin Truex. We think he deserved the championship and did quite a good job all year long, and considering where he came from, you know, I'm really proud of him. He's done a remarkable job, and he's got a good attitude, and he's a nice guy, so we like him too. Dirt track. Oh, I met a dirt truck race at Bristol would be absolutely awesome. Better than wine or hot. Yes, Pam, I totally agree. I have not been to Daytona or Talladega. Been to Fort Worth. We love it. Like, we could go to every race. I just wish I could afford to go to every race. She might not ever get these towels. I'm sorry. I might have to pretend that that's a G. Kim, I use a 7511 Oregon embroidery needle for everything I do. I think there might be a link for them in the pin post where we talk about some of the supplies. Thanks, Mitzi. I am really proud of it. This is stinking awesome. All right, she's done stitching. So we are winding down. Let me cut. I forget my cutter's disconnected. So this is what it looks like on the back. So I'm going to talk to y'all about the back for just a minute for all the new folks. So it's still nice and hooped. Nothing came undone. And you'll see those are the jump stitches. Let me grab these are my favorite scissors. See my snips? These are Klein embroidery snips. And those little sharp points right there will slice your finger off if you are not careful. So I go into the back and you'll see I'm just going to clip a few of these long threads off. Remember that a towel is used to dry off with. And if these are actually useful towels, and like the hooded towels, the kids all use them, then when they are drying off and they run a finger or a fingernail right through one of these jump stitches, they're going to rip threads all apart and tear your beautiful work all to pieces. So I just go in here. Oops, I drifted the camera away. Sorry, y'all. I just go in here and I trim down to where little fingers and fingernails can't get under those little stitches. There's another one. And so see, I'm staying away. There's where it goes into the thread right there. And so there's about a quarter to 3/8 of an inch left hanging out. And there's one that's only about a 1/2 inch long. We're going to trim that one off. So see, all of those now have broken pieces that will allow for fingers to slide through without damaging all that hard work. Janae, it is so pretty. Thank you, thank you, thank you for such gorgeous designs and work. So if you'll notice, the back of my stitching is really pretty, and it should be. So it should be fairly well balanced. A lot of fonts won't follow the 1/3, 1/3, 1/3 rule. This one is pretty close because it's from a high quality digitizer. But you'll notice that some of the stitching from the back shows a little bit of the gray and the white. And it's because it's almost normal stitching. It's not really a applique or a satin kind of stitch. So it's going to show some of the white and the gray. But if you look at the square, it almost perfectly follows the 1/3, 1/3, 1/3 rule. There's 1/3 showing, a little more than 1/3, and then the white bobbin thread is 1/3 and a little less than 1/3 on the inside. But this is beautiful. And so we're going to take this to my table and we're going to show you how I trim the cutaway off, because by trial and error I figured out that the easiest way to do it is this way. So let's get that where y'all can see. So we're going to take the pins out, which there weren't very many because of my goof up. I'm going to rip off the soldy, and then I'm going to take I can't see what y'all can see. I want to make sure y'all can see. Yep, okay. So I'm going to take my rotary cutter and I'm going to trim. I haven't taken it out of the hoop. It's still in the hoop because I am ensured of nice, safe, and secure trimming when I know where the hoop and the towel are. And I literally just cut straight edges all the way around. You'll see why I hooped it wrongly, because I drew my picture wrong. Okay, and then it just comes right out of the hoop. So that is the back. So where's my scissors? This is a little bit long on this side, so I'll trim this just a little bit. And I'll trim that up a little bit when we're done and post a picture of it finished. And I will wet the Salvi and get it off. Janae, you're awesome, girl. This is beautiful. This is stunning. Any other questions? Any comments y'all have? Anything else we can do to help you know how to sew better, stitch better, use your software better? So, what else, y'all? All right, we've chatted for 2 hours exactly. It's just a quilting mat, Latonka. Let me show you. It's just a quilting mat. I have one that's 2 feet by 3 feet, and it literally fits directly on top of my cubbies that I use for storage. So there's a cubby behind this one that faces this way, so I can put long things like this is my pattern paper that I use, and so it reaches, it'll go all the way in and not hang out. So on the towel, there's not a mat on the towel. That's the design we stitched. See? That's the design. This was a knockdown stitch we did. Itch to Stitch gave us a great discount on that. See the close-up? You can see the stitching. All right, y'all. We've talked long enough. I hope it was helpful. I want to see all of your monogram towels. So get busy stitching. Have a great weekend.